G'day guys and gal, it's pretty hard to quantify exactly what a god is. Is it an all-knowing and all-powerful being? Not really, our Greek gods of myth were petty, stupid, and got smacked around all the time. Is it something that creates life on a grand scale? I wouldn't say so, otherwise every hyper-fertile white guy that moves to Thailand with yellow fever who doesn't believe in condoms would have a touch of divinity. I can't really say exactly what makes a god, but one thing we can agree on is a god is very, very powerful. In Warhammer, the Chaos gods are considered the greatest. Slaanesh alone dumps it on the Eldar pantheon. The Big E, the god of humanity, is in a losing struggle against them, and they are the source of most of the galaxy's problems. But how powerful are they really? They barely seem to be able to interact with real space in any meaningful way, sometimes outright begging mortals to do their will. This really begs the question, just how powerful are the Chaos gods really? Before we get started, the Natty Plus end of financial year summer sale is still live, up to 50% off store-wide, which is our largest sale ever. Now, to avoid this plug blowing out, I'm not going to talk about the dozens of customer blood work showing massive improvements, or the studies proving our supplements work, or the third-party testing showing our supplements are 100% legit, or all the reviews and testimonials from people who have actually tried them. Instead, I'll just say that the idea behind Natty Plus and why it's different from other supplement brands is that I wanted to make supplements that literally got rid of all the negatives of the supplement industry, only using science-backed ingredients, so no wasting money on filler trash that does nothing. Each supplement is a hero stack of synergistic ingredients, meaning you're taking less caps from less bottles, only at the correct doses and bioforms. Basically, I made supplements that fucking work. The reason why not many other companies do this, and instead use shit that doesn't work, is because it's obscenely cheap and the regulatory barrier to entry is extremely low. So they'd rather just rely on customer ignorance and misleading marketing to make sales, whereas actually getting the good ingredients is way more expensive and has way more regulatory hurdles. As a super quick rundown, take the test booster if you want more energy, libido, and gains. Take the estrogen reduction if you're on TRT. Take the blood sugar management if you want to lose fat. Take the sleep support if you can't sleep well. Take the liver support if you drink. Take the ashwagandha if you're stressed. And take the cholesterol support if your doctor's worried about your cholesterol. The best part is that we're currently running a massive 40 to 51% off sale, depending on how much you buy in one go. So it's never been cheaper to jump on in and sort out your health. Link is below. Today we'll go over just how powerful the Chaos gods are, highlighting their feats of power and where their limits lie. Let's get into it. Now, to understand the power of the Chaos gods, we need to understand them. A lot of people are confused about what they actually are, which is understandable, as GW likes to make them confusing. Are they concepts? Are they gigantic physical entities that exist in their own realms? Do they actually exist, or is it just one big Wizard of Oz type situation? To make it as simple as possible, a Chaos god is everything it is involved in. It is the gifts it gives to its mortal followers. It's every demon that serves it. It is its own realm of chaos, and a Chaos god does indeed also have a physical form that can be seen, interacted with, and touched. Although I don't recommend doing any of that. A Chaos god is kind of like a company. The more cash it has, the more it can hire, the more it can expand, and the more it can spread its influence. However, it has to spend that cash in order to make more cash. What I mean is that if a Chaos god wants to expand its realm or take over a planet in real space, it needs to shed parts of itself to create more demons who can then do its bidding. If the realm is then expanded, the Chaos gods grow in power, so whilst it may have to shed 2% of itself, if it gains 5% power, that makes it a 3% profit. All demons that are aligned with a Chaos god are a part of it. Normal demons are shards of their god, thus why Chaos gods look like their own demons. They are literally formed from them. Demon princes, which are mortals who have become demons, are filled with the essence of their Chaos god, thus connecting them. A Chaos god does not always need to have a physical form. If no one is around and it doesn't need to speak to its demons, it can happily dissipate into its realm and just kind of exist in the background. When it needs to address its demons or speak with a mortal, it can collate into a physical form, an avatar if you will, to make the experience of speaking with an underling doable, rather than just cum blasting them and overloading them by trying to speak with them with the full might of their essence. Evidence of this is proven by the fact that Tzeentch literally got a physical description when it spoke to its demons about Ahriman. More evidence is Scarbrand hitting Khorne with his axe before getting yeeted across the warp. Nurgle being described as actively stirring his cauldron and interacting with these demons as well. Not to mention Slaanesh fighting and beating the Elder gods, who we know for a fact have physical forms and are not just concepts. There are many examples of Chaos gods actually being physical and tangible. They can also choose how powerful these forms can be. When the Night Lord Talos was sent to the warp to speak with the Chaos gods to try turn him to chaos, each Chaos god spoke with him one by one, but used an avatar that was extremely weak, simply taking the form of Talos corrupted by each Chaos god respectively. The lore states that they directed a micro sliver of attention to him, literally half a second glance, and that's how it manifested. Now, something that confuses a lot of people is that if the Chaos gods control the warp, then why does warp travel exist? Can't they just reach out and grab Imperial ships and crush them? Why Why don't they just batter Guilliman's fleet and drag them to the depths like the hungry leviathans they are? It's a fair question, and something Tzeentch at least has implied he can do. The reality is though that what makes the Chaos Gods so strong is also what makes them so weak. They are so tied to their Chaos realms that they can't really leave them in any meaningful way, at least not without taking a massive risk. The warp has layers and is often described as an ocean. Warp travel occurs in the shallows of the warp, where the sun shines. The realms of chaos are much deeper in the warp. You don't get great white sharks hunting 50 meters away from the shoreline, nor do you see giant squids floating around the rock pools. If they did, they would be exposed and get stuck and likely die. So a Chaos God basically never travels to the shallow warp, as it would cause a lot of issues and leave them vulnerable to the other Chaos Gods. Tzeentch told Magnus that if Magnus wanted, Tzeentch could smack the Space Wolves and destroy them while they're on the way to Prospero via warp travel. Now, could he actually have, or was this some kind of bargain that would have forced Magnus to do it? It's unclear. However, I do find it extremely unlikely that the Chaos Gods can do this, as it would make things very easy for them. Imagine if they could just pluck Loyalist Gloriana ships and crush them. It would be GGS for the traders in no time at all. Chaos Gods do not have infinite power, nor can they see the future, nor are they all-knowing. They have a set amount of demons, as they only have a set amount of power they can shed to create demons. It's very common for them to reabsorb demons who they view as pretty shit, as they would rather reabsorb the power and increase their own, than allow underperformers to run around. As I said, it's literally a business. Do you keep someone on a 100k salary who isn't hitting their KPIs, or do you fire them, freeing up the 100k salary to spend elsewhere? Now, with the Chaos Gods already finding it difficult to get to the shallow warp, can they ever materialize in real space? It's complicated. Real space is already hard enough for demons to exist in. See, as a general rule of the galaxy, the warp hates it when non-warp based entities enter it. Ships have to violently rip open the warp and brute force their way through it. If you enter the warp without a Gala field, you will literally burn as your soul is raped by demons. It's a bad time. Likewise, when demons enter real space, they begin fading and draining, burning up in their own way. The larger and more powerful the demon, the faster they burn up. It's only through a shit ton of warp juice floating around can they stay intact. A Chaos God is scaling that up times a billion. Real space would have a terrible time, but a Chaos God would have an even worse time. When Slaanesh was born, a lot of people think that she was in real space for a little while, which caused the fall of the Eldar, but even in that case, she barely put her hand through. Most of the fall was just demons mass invading Eldar worlds. Barely any of it was Slaanesh doing anything directly. Likewise, when Angron was attacking the Coral engine in the current setting, as he struck the engine, Khorne funneled an ungodly amount of power into Angron to a point where it was described as if Khorne was striking the engine himself. However, it wasn't. It was him funneling his power into Angron. He didn't strike it himself, and Angron had to fight his way to the engine. So even at the best of times, the Chaos Gods do not enter real space. It is off limits to them, which is interesting because we know other gods have entered real space before. The Eldar gods used to be able to materialize in real space during the War in Heaven. Likewise, the Old Ones, who are arguably the greatest gods of them all, could freely travel between real space and the warp. The same can be said about the Emperor. So the Chaos Gods are deeply rooted to the deep warp. This does beg a bit of a question. If someone is extremely powerful, but only in their own bedroom, are they actually that powerful? If you're really powerful when you're in a quad minigun turret, but are weak in the Sahara Desert with no water, then how powerful are you really? I think it would be a massive cop-out for me to just say, well, their power depends on the context. As although that is a correct statement, it's also a fucking boring statement. So I'll put it like this. The Chaos Gods are immensely powerful, and if they want to, they can have huge direct impacts on the setting. It's more so just how they want to play it. For example, Khorne, who is easily the most reckless of all Chaos Gods, spent a fuckload of energy dumping a Khornite army on the Imperial Palace's doorstep when the Great Rift opened. That army was beaten, and Khorne was greatly weakened from the effort, meaning Nurgle rose to prominence and became the big bad of the setting. However, after expending a ton of energy failing to conquer Ultramar and getting smashed by Guilliman and literally burnt by the Emperor, Nurgle has been knocked down a peg. While that was happening, Khorne had time to recover and got a huge power boost from taking out the Coral engine. Now Angron is a huge threat, as he is only able to be banished for a few weeks at a time before he returns. Slaanesh also seems to be making moves with the return of Fulgrim, so if a Chaos God wants to push it, they can do hectic shit. Although it's important to note that when Khorne did dump his army on Terra, it was when the Emperor was literally knocked out and the galaxy had been turbocharged with warp energy, and the rest of Chaos still thought it was not a great idea. The best way I can summarize it is this. Being a Chaos God is like playing a strategy game. You can direct your resources, control your armies, outplay your enemies, and so on, but you cannot reach down and just squish enemy soldiers or just smite people. Unless you play Age of Mythology, in which case there is literally a smite power. Same goes for the Chaos Gods. They need their units and resources to be able to win. The Emperor's goal was never to walk into the warp, sword blazing like he was playing Elden Ring. It was to beat the Chaos Gods in a classic game of RTS. However, a 4v1 is a nightmare for any RTS player, so a stalemate where he ended up on a torture device for 10,000 years was the outcome. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then get in on the massive Natty Plus sale right now. Never been a better time to fix your shit. Hit the subscribe button and hit the subscribe button for more powerful content. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.